really did.
Andy Serkis is a god. That guy is so amazing.
Because the whole time that they were having the close-ups, what they were doing with him, I was trying to point and figure out, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Have I seen this guy? The references he was making, the things he was saying, it's like, he's been around for a while.
Yeah, I know.
He's making some claims.
And by mutilating him, like, he could be anybody.
Yes.
Yeah. He could be shit. He could be Ezra Bridger. If you think about it, he could be one of the Rebels characters. He could be one of the prequel characters. Who knows?
And or because you have read more of that 3-book series that talked about how the Emperor did his thing, where he sent the stuff out.
Oh, right, the Outbound Flight. Yeah, with by Timothy Zahn.
Yeah, if that was actually somebody that was reaching out and took over, we don't know.
That's true.
I guess we don't know.
He does talk like he's been there forever, like he predates the Emperor somehow. He kind of does talk like that.
So unless they expand it a little bit in episode 9, we really won't know.
But the fucked up part is, and this is what we're getting at, they don't have to explain shit. They killed the motherfucker.
No.
They didn't just kill him.
In the best way
possible. It's just literally, and you could. It's another one of those that's kind of telegraphed a little, because, well, it's actually a lot because it shows you what's happening on both sides.
But it was the best fucking villain montage.
It was great.
I've seen in a while.
It was so great. Basically, they're in the Jedi scene with the Emperor in the chair and the bad guy kneeling and the Jedi, being Rey in this case, being defiant and being tortured. Just not only did Rey get slapped around, but Kylo gets slapped around as well.
Mentally bitch slapped.
Yeah, like it's so crazy. Snoke is the master of manipulation, but then you find out he's been playing into Kylo's hands from the start. And it's just such an amazing transition that actually I'm so glad they did, because in the first film Kylo came off like a little bitch. And
he still is an emo
he's still a little
bitch,
but he's now reached Hitler level. Like he's like, I'm a bitch, but I'm gonna fucking take shit over. And poor Hux has to kowtow right off the bat. And that's just funny, because Hux at first is gonna fight him, and he totally did a Darth Vader on him. Totally did a Vader. But anyway, we're still kind of jumping ahead here a little bit. At one point, how does he catch Rey? How does he catch her in the first place and bring her to Snoke?
She brings herself there.
That's right, she does. She basically tells Luke, I'm going to go try and save Ben. And Luke says, you're going to fail. Like, that's where it comes. This is not going to turn out how you think.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a lie that Luke tells. He tells the story. He doesn't really lie.
No,
it's kind of like Obi-Wan.
No, he conceals.
He keeps the truth to himself, in a way. He tells it from a certain aspect.
Yeah.
From
a certain point of view, he tells her.
The powerful thing about the Force in this film is the communication between Rey and the connection between Rey and Kylo. They have these weird Skype-esque communications that
I'm still trying to figure out how that happened. Now, I think actually there was a mention as to why, but I was writing.
Okay. They didn't. Well, there was. I mentioned Snoke. Snoke is the reason. Snoke did it.
Yeah,
he set it up.
He claims that he.
Essentially, he did the Force version of an internet connection mentally, and Rey and Kylo were able to see each other, and at some point touch each other, which was weird.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this whole meta kind of out of body.
Not weird. Because if you think about it, when we get to the end.
Okay, kind of the end. There's definitely a bond between the two.
He figured out how to use the Force with the dark side connections.
Well, Snoke claimed that he did that. Snoke is the one who claimed he did that.
He figured that.
Oh,
but I'm just saying that there are some other...
There's layers here we haven't done yet.
Yeah. Anyways, because I think we're so going back and forth.
Well, because I'm remembering things that I forgot that we hadn't talked about
yet. Because that connection was realized within the first half of the movie.
That's true. The connection between the two was realized. Basically, the first time it happened, she shot Kylo. She just reached for a gun and shot him. No. And he flinched like he was going to get shot, but then realized it was a hallucination.
But actually, if you want to think about it, that connection actually probably was made in Force Awakens.
On the hill? in the forest?
No, not even on the hill.
Oh, when they were she was in the chair.
She was in the chair.
That's a good point.
Know you.
Yeah.
Do you think Snoke was a...
And I'll tell you, this is what...
So Force sensitive, Force perception that we're playing with, that the Disney won't say, hey, you. But anyways.
Disney, you're evil. Not because you're making us mad.
Disney, you're not evil. Send me to Disneyland or the cruise. I'm good.
But you're playing with our emotions. Yes. Playing with our Star Wars is like playing with our emotions. But that kind of gets me back to the whole there was hardly anybody in the theater kind of thing. I'm hoping it was bigger in other places in town because we're in Vantucky. That's where we're at. Yeah. And we just went to the local theater. It was the quick one.
I came all the way from Hills Burrito to Vantucky.
That's right. Hills Burrito. It's messed up. So
wow. I thought I better show here.
Yeah. So and there really wasn't hardly anybody. I remember when we went to see Force Awakens, it was shoulder to shoulder. It was insane. But like you said, there was a whole line for the 9:00 showing. So I think we just happened to get the extra early showing, which
was fine for you and me because we had
the elbow room. We're not small guys, but at any rate, so Rey decides to leave. Basically, she tells Luke to F off.
Yes,
and she kind of kicks his ass a little bit too, and takes off in the Falcon with Chewie. And of course, they end up taking Porgs with them. Porgs are indigenous to the island where Luke lives. They're like little birds. They're basically penguins. They're penguins with big Puss in Boots eyes. And there's a great scene. This is what we avoided in the earlier part with no spoilers. There's a wonderful scene of Chewie. Chewie is a predator. That's what he is. He's a meat eater. And he's got a campfire going. He's sitting underneath the nose of the Falcon. He's just having a gay old time roasting what looks like a chicken.
Might be a porg. We don't know.
And basically grabs it off the stick, goes to take a bite, and there's like 3 or 4 porgs on the other side of the fire looking at him. And he kind of stops and looks at them, and they kind of squawk at him.
Please, sir.
Yeah.
Why are you doing
Don't eat
this?
Us. So he kind of does. He tries to chew again, and then it focuses on 2, and then he does it again. And it focuses on 1, and that 1 gives the straight up Puss in Boots look. It leans in with the big giant eyes and purrs, and Chewie's like, "Fuck,"
So, the best way to equate this, if you're not a Puss in Boots fan, is Little Timmy.
Little Timmy, as in from
Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol, yeah. The big, soft-eyed, doe-eyed kind of thing. Oh my God, that was pretty. I do like the Porgs, and I'll tell you, it comes later in the movie. I just want to get it out before we forget about it. The greatest joke with the Porgs. We've seen the scene in the trailer where the Porgs are screaming out the window, but there's a scene where a Porg is standing on the controls. Chewie gets frustrated and smacks it. It flies across the cockpit and it sticks to the window, just like those Garfields back in the 80s. Remember those? And you and I both just laughed, like just died laughing. I gotta get one of those. I want one of those in my car. So that was another one of those cheap laughs they put in for that totally worked. But at any rate, so Rey gets tortured. We kind of skip past. She leaves Luke. She's on the Falcon. Somehow she jettisons herself in hyperspace, or they drop out of hyperspace for just a second.
Which was beautiful.
Which is beautiful.
Beautiful scene.
She jettisons herself. Now at this point, I'm going to switch back to Finn.
Yes.
Because as a parallel story, right now I'm in the middle of reading the EU book, or the new EU book, Canto Bight.
Oh, you're reading that?
I'm reading it. I'm about halfway through it. And it's basically a Vegas in space. Well, not even in space. It's on a planet. It's on a desert planet. It's a Vegas. It's got every kind of vice that Vegas would have, that kind of thing.
Think Mos Eisley with lots of money.
Good point. That's excellent.
And on a water world.
Yes, that's true.
Or a wet world.
Or at least more water than normal. So, they're trying to figure out. We're going to jump back a little bit. Poe is upset with the admirals because no one's telling him what they're going to do. So Finn and Rose. We get back to Finn. Finn decides
to Rose because we haven't introduced Rose.
We haven't introduced Rose yet. Finn decides he's going to desert again, but not in the way you might think. He's trying to get out of there so he can save Rey. He's a little obsessed with Rey. I think there's some stalker shit going on here.
Oh yeah, or a Force connection, but we don't know.
I'm kind of hoping that's the case because then it'd be less creepy. But so he sneaks off. He basically says, "Let's go get Rey," and everybody says, "No, we got other shit to do." So he sneaks off, decides to go jettison himself. Where? I don't know where the hell he's planning on going. I have no idea. In a escape pod. But he meets Rose, and Rose is a little engineer girl. She's a little technical whiz kind of person. Mm. And she's not guarding, but she's like maintaining the pods. Mm. And she kind of fanboys on him. Like she catches him. She catches him trying to get out. She
knows exactly who he is.
Yes, he's famous apparently. Which of course Finn's just like, okay, I'm famous.
Yeah.
And
I'm a big deal.
I'm a big deal.
Without saying it.
Look, big deal. So he's got a bag in there. He's trying to hide it. He's doing the whole awkward, thing. And she's talking really obsessively, like she's a scary fangirl. And gets right in his face, pulls out a stunner, and zaps in front of him and says, I've had to zap like 3 people today who are trying to escape. And he's like, oh yeah, that's horrible. That's just awful. And then she stands up to him. She sees his bag in the pod and then gets mad and zaps him.
And the reason why she's so pissed off and mad is because
he breaks her heart.
Well, not just that, because of her sister.
That's right.
Her sister was the bombardier we were talking about earlier that actually pushed the trigger to sacrifice herself to take out the dreadnought.
And you know this because of an amulet they're both wearing. It's like a yin-yang. It's kind of, each has a half of a circle.
Yeah.
And they focus on it in the bomber because she holds on it as she's trying to trying to set the bombs off.
Also, culturally, we figured that out as well.
Yeah. And so then later, of course, it focuses on Rose, and she's got the other half of the circle.
Right.
So right then, you kind of, the connection's pretty
obvious. What I love about that is we go back to, hey, I'm a big deal.
Yeah.
Listen, big deal. They always know.
Yes, they always. That's right. It's a good point. Foreshadowing. Nice.
Boom. There we are.
Yeah.
So anyway,
she zaps him. He is out cold. Poe gets knocked out cold at some point too. Poe leads a mutiny on the boat. We've totally skipped the most important crux of this whole first part of the movie. They fake out a death of Princess Leia. Totally fake it out. We've seen the trailer. Kylo's zooming in his awesome fighter, which I love that design.
It's not a fake out. I was buying it. I was so fucking buying it.
And then just zap right there. That's when I said, oh shit, Game of Thrones. Because Kylo hesitates. He hesitates.
And I knew he was going to hesitate.
I know.
I knew it.
There's so many twists and turns in this. He hesitates. He's got the bridge of the ship on his sights. Leia's in there. He can sense that Leia's in there. They know each other. She knows he's coming to kill her.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. And at the last second, he lifts his thumbs and doesn't fire.
Because I still believe, and I actually, even at the end of the movie, as emo forcey he is.
Emo forcey. That's great.
Dark Sith Lord, whatever.
Emo forcey. I like that.
That he still has confliction.
Yeah.
And I think in that regards, not down the road, not later in the movie.
Yeah.
But in that regards, I think there was confliction because I don't think that decision he made was. I think that particular decision he made was his own. I would like to think that, and I would like to think I was led to believe
as opposed to being the dark side or Snoke.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyways, then right behind him, the 2 TIE fighters, boom.
Yeah. They
blow
fire.
Out the fucking bridge, take out Admiral Akbar. Yeah, it was a trap.
Bah.
And Leia. Leia gets blown the fuck out.
Into space.
I'm going, okay, so that's how they did it. That's how they took her out.
But in my mind, I'm like, didn't they shoot more footage with her? Like, it screwed me up.
Because all the footage I saw
was just that stuff.
Was all that stuff.
Yep, you're right.
So I'm like, okay, perfect.
They were smart. Wow.
That's how they took her out.
Yeah. Well.
And I'm going, dude, that's the way to go out. Get blown out the fucking window,
All you have to do is freeze frame and suck her out the window. That's all they had to do. And I thought she was gone. I agree. I thought she was gone.
But
then
we see what happens.
Kylo pulls up. The other fighters are with him. He gets called off by Hux, I believe, or Snoke. Snoke says, pack it in. Yeah. He's like, he does the same thing Poe does. He's like, nah, fuck it. I want to keep going.
No.
And they're like, no, that's it. We're done. So it switches to Leia, and Leia does, and it's very Guardians of the Galaxy, this scene.
Guardians of the Galaxy, yeah. and very reminiscent of being strong in the Force.
Leia is not a Jedi, but she's fucking badass in this movie.
Once again, if you follow EU, if you follow Legends, if you follow even the most recent stories that came out for New Hope, a different point of view. No one ever focused on the fact that Leia is actually one of the most strongest people with the Force.
She's just as strong as Luke.
If not stronger.
Just not trained.
Yeah.
She does a Superman. She's like in the Matrix. He's doing that Superman thing again. She's in space like Peter Quill, freezing over, and you see this one twitch of her hand, and she kind of automatically rights herself, puts her hand in front of herself, almost like a Green Lantern, and flies straight through space, back into the blown-up bridge that she was shot out of, and into an airlock, and somehow, by MacGuffin, by miracle, Poe and Finn both see her through the window and go, "Oh, we gotta save the princess," and run off.
Okay, whatever, but was it protection of the Force? Was it her own protection cause of the Force? We don't know.
It wasn't Luke.
Because we can remember the Force is bigger than just one person.
Right.
It could have been Yoda. It could have been Anakin.
It could have been Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. It was pretty amazing. That was pretty surprising. So Leia ends up in a coma.
One of those moments of me.
Yeah, that was he squealed like a little girl.
Oh,
and
I did.
I kind of did too a little bit in this one. But anyway, they save her. They put her in a pod, and she's unconscious for a while. And I'm thinking, oh, they're just gonna like let her die off. So there's gonna be a scene later down the movie where she just dies in bed. You know, because I hate that we're having to even talk like this. Because the first time she shows up on film, I almost started crying. Like it was just this whole movie was almost unintentionally an homage to Carrie Fisher. Her scenes were shot in such a way, and considering how the movie ended, that it was almost a goodbye to her. But it wasn't. Somebody else was dying and telling her goodbye, but it felt like she was telling us goodbye and whatnot. It was just crazy.
And we'll get to that.
We'll get to that in a little bit. And we'll finish this up here in a second. But, so, she's in a coma. The plan with Finn gets sent to this Vegas place by Maz. The little girl, little old lady from...
Maz Katana, the chick with
the eyes. So she's on a hologram,
saying,
and she's
I'm
fighting
dealing with other fucking shit.
Yeah.
You don't understand what I'm dealing with.
She's in a firefight.
Have you dealt with union labor?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't. I gotta deal with this.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Go see this guy.
She's like, you need to go to Canto Bight and find the guy wearing a certain flower pin. And he's the biggest hacker in the galaxy, or what they used to call slicers in the EU.
When she mentioned that, because when you talked about all the people that were being in the movie, I knew that was going to be Benicio del Toro's character.
Oh, man. Not
because of any spoilers. It was just...
We knew he was there, but we just didn't know what yet.
We just knew, and that just... Okay, now I know that really feels like the character he's going to play. Whether it was going to be the character we got introduced to, or some other character, that was Benicio del Toro's character.
I'll say this about Benicio. He can play weird.
Oh,
he can really play weird. Look at Usual Suspects.
Mm-hmm.
Look at of course Guardians of the Galaxy, The Hunted with Tommy Lee Jones. He can play weird, and he definitely plays it in this. He's a little like he was in Usual Suspects.
Yes,
in a way, it's almost like that guy got old.
No, verbal. It was verbal in him.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, but he definitely plays weird. There's definitely there's a betrayal moment there because he's a criminal. You know, they get sent to this place to find a slicer because Poe is creating his own plan because he's not trusting the admirals. So Poe and Finn and Rose create their own plan to sneak onto Snoke's ship and turn something off, pretty much like Obi-Wan and the Death Star, so they can escape. Basically, the Empire is chasing the rebels. They call themselves rebels now. Is chasing the rebels through hyperspace, and they just can't get away. This is almost like trench warfare is what this was. War of attrition. Like, they just kept in the same spot, very submarine-esque. More like Star Trek 2, right. That kind of thing.
So the beauty of it was in order to stall them, or at least with the Resistance, not Poe, Finn, and Rose, the Resistance had to slow their ship down, but just be fast enough to outpace the Armada.
Now, the ticking clock in this is the fuel. They're constantly running out of fuel.
Right. Because if they jump to hyperspace, then they know where they're going to go.
It was a little Battlestar Galactica and Cylon kind of thing.
Yes.
And so a lot of that is really slow paced. So all these other stories are going on. It's very complicated. All these other stories are going on. Finn and Rose kind of inadvertently lead this mini revolt in Vegas and end up finding this other slicer, this other hacker, who is Benicio.
I think he was still the hacker.
I really do.
Too. I think he.
I kept looking at it, looking for something that looked like a flower. I did. I kept looking at it because Maz is force sensitive. I guarantee it. She is. So, anyway, they find him. He plays his part. He stutters. He's weird. He's a little He's being verbal in that one. He's being verbal Kent in that one.
Yeah.
They end up BB-8. Okay, let me tell you, BB-8 is the baddest. The bad. This robot, this droid, fucking saves the day every single scene that he's in. He commandeers a ship. We're jumping a little bit, but he and Benicio steal. I want to hear the story of how they stole that ship. How did he and Benicio steal that ship?
I don't know, but I want to backtrack very to the beginning because we forgot about talking about this scene. So in the very opening scenes when Poe is doing his battle against, he's flying around, he's taking out the gun turrets and doing whatever.
Yeah.
Towards the last gun turret, the one gun turret he's got to take out, he gets hit, and it was like, my weapons are offline. Go. So BB-8, what can you do? I got to do this. BB-8 drops. So this was great. That's what I loved about this. This droid drops down and
in the X-wing.
In the X-wing, get to see the internals of the X-wing, and then you have the water in the bucket,
the finger in the dam
scene, where this droid is poking different electrical current outlets
that keep sparking at him.
And he doesn't, and it bounces back to different other dialogue scenes. It goes back to him. Next thing you know, he's got all his
10 fingers just covering every hole.
I have enough. So what does he do? Uses his fucking head.
He slams his head into it.
As he should. Boom.
So then Poe's got his guns back so he can keep going. But it was really interesting to see the droid fall into the ship like that. Because as kids, we always pictured it in our heads.
Yeah.
But then to see that actually how that works.
Because all you ever see in the old movies is, the
R2 sitting there.
The R units just, just sparking out. Anyways.
But BB-8 is pretty badass in this movie.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go one way or the other.
You're fine, dude. So anyway, Benicio and BB-8 steal a ship. They don't say how. They just show up with the ship.
Yeah, they're buddies.
They're buddies, kind of. BB-8's still so badass.
Dude, he was rolling around with money, which we didn't get to either.
Oh, right. The casino scene. They had every casino cliche in here. They had the rich people. They had what I'm pretty sure were hookers. They had old ladies playing slots in these weird slot machines.
Within a 3-minute fucking film gap.
It's amazing. They had this great scene with this drunk, small little alien, about the size of a Ewok, but a lizard.
I'm pretty sure it was Warwick. But
Warwick, that's probably Warwick Davis. You're probably right.
Yeah.
But he is so drunk that he bumps into BB-8 and thinks he's a slot machine and just keeps cramming coins into him, which pays off later.
Yes.
But so BB-8's rolling around this casino with these coins inside of him, and you hear it. And it was like, "What's that noise?" So anyway, they steal the ship. They end up. All these stories are converging onto the Star Destroyer.
The Scimitar.
Rey.
The Scimitar. Yeah.
The Scimitar is from Star Trek. I don't know if that was. But anyway, Rey's showing up to confront Ben. She's calling him Ben now. BB-8 and Finn and Rose are showing up with the slicer to break into the ship.
Yeah.
And Poe is back in the attrition zone. He's back on the
ship that's still being chased.
Still being chased, freaking out. So he's freaking out so bad.
He revolts. He
does. He leads a coup.
We get a mutiny. And it's so funny because the pilots just side with him right off the bat. Like, we're on. So the pilots take out the admirals. Didn't kill them. They just, captured them, the command staff. Poe goes up to the bridge to try and do something. I don't know what he... Take out Helen Hunt's character.
No, Laura Dern.
Laura Dern, I'm sorry.
Helen Hunt. That's funny.
Well, same character.
Yeah,
same
essentially, yeah. They are very similar, aren't they?
Laura Dern's character, who plays a pretty badass vice admiral who's like, oh my god. Okay.
She's like the apprentice to Leia is what she is.
Yeah, she really was.
And I thought she was going to take her place. I thought that was what they were building up to, but it's not at all.
Poe does what he does. Next thing you know it, wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Poe's sitting on the bridge, and you see like what looks like a welder trying to take down a door. I mean, we've all seen it in The Rock and a bunch of other cop and military movie things. And so it's a race against time. Mm-hmm. Finn is heading toward the Star Destroyer. Rey is heading toward the Star Destroyer. Poe is leading a revolt. All these things are converging into one spot. And just when you think you know what's going to happen, you don't.
It doesn't happen.
Finn and Rose fail.
Yep.
They fail. They get betrayed by Benicio. They get captured by Captain Phasma, who in this movie is so much more badass than she was in the first one.
And the thing is, I should have known better because we're at the 2-hour mark, and I'm going, I thought this movie was longer.
It's really long. And I'm so glad. Have you read Phasma, the book?
No, I have not.
You should, because it actually makes her a much better character.
Does the Phasma storyline make it fit with what
it has nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter.
But does it make the character?
It makes the character better. Okay. Yes. And because in the Force Awakens, she's pretty much ineffectual. She's just kind of there.
Yeah.
And she didn't really do anything that interesting except look cool. In this one, she looked cool and she kicked ass.
And she almost cut somebody's head off.
Yeah. And her going out, I'm kind of curious if she died or not. Because I thought Hux was dead. And this is the point we're getting to. I totally thought Hux was dead. I thought Hux was dead. The First Order's gone. Snoke is dead because Rey...
I'm pretty sure Snoke is dead.
Kylo has killed him.
He comes back.
Shit. And now we get to that point. Rey's now on the ship. She surrenders herself to Kylo. Kylo shows up. He's kind of like looking into a coffin. He's looking into the pod down at her, and then says, "Take her." And he steps out his frame. There's 2 stormtroopers walk up with handcuffs, and Rey's sitting there kind of like this, but with a lightsaber in her hand, which is really weird. So they pull her out. They're in an elevator, similar to the elevator scene in Jedi with Vader and Luke. And she's trying to convince him. He's trying to convince her. You're going to switch. I've seen your future. You're going to switch to me. I've seen your future. It's really back and forth.
Right.
It's very Jaina and Jason.
Which I want to get back to in a bit. But anyways.
Yeah. So while that's going on, Finn has arrived, but they fucked up. They got betrayed. They're stuck on this deck. And suddenly all hell breaks loose.
I'm still trying to figure out how they got betrayed. Was it the BB-9 unit?
Benicio.
So it was Benicio from the very beginning.
But they never paid off the other BB-8. They never paid it off. Like, there was no confrontation between BB-8 and the other droid. BB-9, yeah, there's no confrontation. Was there?
So, I know they saw each other.
They saw each other, but there was no fight.
Basically... So at what point did Benicio...
They got caught. They got arrested. Benicio instantly turned and said, "Hey."
That's kind of how it led you to believe.
I'll tell you what these guys were trying to do. Is essentially what he does, and he gets paid and sent off. I think he survived. I don't think he died in that.
I don't think he
did. The
did.
ship gets attacked. This is bullshit. Rose and Finn somehow survived the attack on the hangar when nobody else did, and then Phasma comes into the room with a bunch of stormtroopers. They've been having a big fight. Well, the fight between Phasma and Finn is just like it looks on the trailer. It's beautiful to look at. It's pretty short, and
remember, Phasma was already in the hangar.
Well, either way, you're probably right. But somehow, the Executioners. I totally forgot about the Executioners, which is stupid.
And then Laura Dern has her thing, and
the Executioners get called in with the big axes. They're gonna kill Finn and Rose. Phasma does the Dr. Evil thing and says, "I'm just gonna assume they're dead," and walks away. Then the ship gets attacked. The hangar gets blown up. Finn and Rose wake up, and they decide they're going to run for it. They're going to say, "There's a shuttle over there." There's always a shuttle. There's a shuttle over there.
Well, there's always a shuttle over there. It always, but and I'll go back to even the very beginning of the opening scene. There always seems to be a pretty good damn fucking clear force field floating around somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Because even remember in the opening scene with the bomber girl.
It was almost like they were in the air, not in space.
Yeah, because I thought they were getting ready to drop the bombs, and here she is at the bottom of the catwalk. And at least with Star Trek, you always knew there was a force
field there. They did an effect to make it look that way.
This one,
no.
I was like, is she suffocating? Is she hypoxic?
But if you look back at Star Wars, they did it then too, because they didn't have technology to do the bing. They just couldn't do that, so they had the lights around the door to imply that there was a force field.
In this one, none of that.
Well, there was in the hangar. There was, but you're right. For the bomber, I was like, "What is that?"
The bomber, and then when they did this with that scene you're talking about, where Laura Dern does her thing.
Yeah.
Dude. That fucking starship was sliced in half, or in thirds.
We'll get to the coolest part of the entire film here in a second. You and I lost it when this happened. We're all over the place. So let's finish up here real quick. So they're all converging on the Star Destroyer. Finn gets into the fight with Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil.
With Phasma. The fight is awesome. The fight is nearly as good as the lightsaber fight later.
Yes.
Finn wins. Finn breaks her helmet, and all you see is her eye.
So you see Christine Gwendolyn's eye.
Gwendolyn Christie's, cool. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
It was so great. And after reading Phasma, that is so much cooler. You'll love, because part of the culture she comes from, she was like a prehistoric culture. Okay. They weren't even spacefaring. They were a devastated, apocalyptic type culture. And she was a hunter in the tribe. And part of the tribe's thing was wearing masks. That was their deal. And that's how she fell in love with the First Order, because a couple First Order people crashed there. In fact, it was Hux's dad. Hux's dad crashed. The first general, the instructor, crashes there with a bunch of stormtroopers, and Gwendolyn Christie, Phasma, protects them, and they go on this big adventure. I'm not going to go into the whole details on that, but masks are very prevalent in her culture.
Right.
And taking somebody's mask is like taking their identity.
Okay.
So when he breaks her mask and you see the eye, it's a cool scene just for the movie, but having read Phasma, it's awesome. It's really like totally climax to her story.
Okay.
Her story, I'm assuming, ends right there. That whole story, if you read Phasma and then watch that scene, it's like, oh, that's the end of the story. So Finn beats Phasma. She falls into fire, kind of like Star Trek, 3? Commander Krug falls into the lava. But you don't ever actually see her die. She falls into fire, and of course we all know they can bring her back if they want.
Well, with Nububian...
Nububian.
Nububian.
Nububian. Sorry, dude.
Right.
Nubian.
So, Nubian armor.
I guess. Well, she's wearing the silver armor from the ship. That is explained in Phasma too. Yeah. So her armor, everyone's been speculating or talking about, it's made from a Nubian ship, from those chrome ships from the prequels. And straight up, the only time I've ever seen a shot deflect off a stormtrooper's armor was on her. Rose shot her point blank.
We saw it.
And it shot right off her. I'm like, everybody should be wearing that armor. You know? So that just made her kind of bad. I'm so glad she was so much more badass in this movie. But Finn does win, which I still don't buy, because I don't think
Did he win or to get the better?
He got lucky.
I think he got lucky.
He got lucky. So she supposedly dies. We don't know yet. She dies. And Finn and Rose manage to find a shuttle and get off the ship before it blows up. Then we get to the Rey part. Rey's being tortured by Snoke. We're back to this scene. And this is kind of how the movie goes anyway.
It's just...
Yeah, back and forth. We're back to the scene. Snoke's torturing her. He's basically slamming her all over the place, kind of like Lord of the Rings with Gandalf and Saruman. Kind of bam, bam, all over the place. And she manages to steal the lightsaber from him, but he spins it around and knocks her in the back of the head with it, which is just funny as hell.
Which was a total another fucking classic Yoda moment.
Oh, totally. It was weird.
Like, okay, young fucking Padawan. Bonk.
Well, it kind of reflects back to the prequels in the original movie, where you've got the duality. You've got Yoda and Ben, and you've got the Emperor and Vader. Yeah. That was the balance. Yeah. Vader, they said he was the one who would bring balance back to the Force. He did. He fulfilled his prophecy. 2-2. He brought the balance back to the Force. And this is, I think, what leads into Luke saying the Jedi need to die now, because the Force was unbalanced.
We still haven't gotten to that particular dialogue.
Well, that was early on. We probably should just mention that. We've all seen it in the trailer. He says the Jedi need to go away. The Jedi needs to die.
Which basically means he needs to die.
He needs to die. Yeah, and you find that out later. Yeah. So, at least to a certain point. So let's fast forward a little bit. Rose and Finn are on the shuttle with BB-8. Oh, BB-8 saves the day by commandeering a walker. ATST. Or an ATST.
Was
the
it
little
ST?
ones. Yeah, the Scout Walker. ST-AT or something.
Yeah.
He ends up blowing up a bunch of people. It basically creates the situation where Phasma's by herself. That's why she fights Finn. But he kicks the shit out of everybody in that hangar. And he ends up getting... He steps forward in the walker, but you don't know it's him yet. You're like, what's going on? Every few seconds, BB-8 shows up to save the day. Like, you don't know where he is during the whole scene, and then suddenly he's there to save the day.
So in that particular scene, remember when the fucking scene where in Return of the Jedi, where the two trees knock the...
Yeah, the AWOC scene, yeah.
Boom.
So that kind of happens.
So now you got the walker with BB-8 all of a sudden.
BB-8 gets the top of the walker stuck on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And keeps walking forward. It rips open like a tomato can.
Yeah.
And here's BB-8 sitting there going, beep, beep. You know?
Here I am, guys.
He's shooting the shit out of everything in the room. So... Finn, BB-8, and Rose managed to make it to the... and we're getting to the final scene here.
The Tridarian shuttle.
Managed to get to
Tridarian shuttle, that's what it was.
Kind of, yeah. They managed to get to the Imperial shuttle. It was an old shuttle. And they get off the boat. They get off the plane. Everybody escapes from the command call ship. and try to get down to this planet where there's an old rebel base. Okay, quote unquote.
Badass rebel base.
It's pretty cool, actually, yeah. But it's very Hoth. Very Hoth.
Hoth on steroids.
In a way, yes,
but not
absolutely.
cold.
But not cold. Steroids, but not cold. That's the name of this episode. Steroids, but not cold.
Very salty.
Very salty. So
sorry, did I do that?
So they're all heading to this planet. They figure out that the escape ships after the mutiny. Mm-hmm. Poe is standing there with a gun. The door's being welded off. You think it's going to be like this cracked SEALs Team 6 squad come through. The door explodes and flies through the room, and Leia in a robe. Like, not a Jedi robe, in a medical, like, smock. Like,
we're talking before they get down there.
Her head is bandaged up,
yeah.
and she just marches into the room and basically says, "That's enough of this shit."
And what does she do? She shoots Poe.
She shoots Poe with a stun gun. She fucking walks up and without a word just goes, pew! And Poe flies across the room. And then of course, Leia takes over and Laura Dern comes back. In the process of all this, everyone's landing on this particular planet. I don't remember what they called it. They called it something. It's a mining planet. It's basically made up of salt. The entire planet is made up of white salt. So it looks a lot like Hoth, but different. The scene in the trailer where you see the ships flying and there's red dust flying everywhere, that's the planet we're talking about.
Yeah.
So Snoke is dead because Rey has tricked Snoke into thinking he's about to kill... Or not Rey has tricked him. Kylo has tricked Snoke because Snoke thinks Kylo is about to kill Rey, which is really convoluted if you think about it. And Snoke is just being this... He's monologuing. He's totally monologuing. And he's like, "I know you're going to kill her. I know you feel it. You're going to kill your true enemy."
One of the best monologues I've ever seen.
Oh my god. While Kylo is standing there with his lightsaber, the red lightsaber, and he's lifting his... Basically about to kill Rey, what you see out of the corner of your eye is the lightsaber, the blue one that Snoke took from Rey, Luke's old lightsaber, Anakin's old lightsaber, twisting on the desk or on the counter where it's sitting.
Now,
on his
was
armrest.
this before or after it went to the Ark?
Well, that's after. It's after the Ark.
Okay, because so that's what I was going to say. It's like, okay, so that's where it led me to believe, oh, wait a minute. Are they going to throw this twist where who's the good guy and who's the bad guy? Well, or are we going to have two good guys?
That's true. They totally did that. It's basically...
I literally, for that period of time, thought, damn. We're going to have two good guys. Potentially.
It's reminiscent of the scene in Jedi when Luke's green lightsaber was sitting on the armrest of the Emperor's throne, and he reaches for it, grabs it, and is about to strike the Emperor down, but Vader stops him. That scene is twisted around. Rey reaches for the lightsaber. It's the scene where it flies past her and knocks her in the head. Well, at some point, he throws her against the wall, and she steals Kylo's lightsaber.
Which was beautiful.
That was a wonderful shot. And starts to kill, at least tries to kill some of the soldiers, the Red Guard, the Crimson Guard. So they take Kylo's lightsaber away from her. Snoke, in the Force, gives it back to Kylo. He's still slamming Rey around. I can't even describe to you all the shit he does to her. It's just insane. And
so
now we're back to the scene I was talking about where he's standing over Rey. He's about to execute her.
Right.
Kylo is standing over Rey. Snoke is saying, "Kylo, execute her." Snoke is just like a drug addict, like going on about how, "Kylo, I can feel your strength. I can feel that you've switched over."
Yeah, I did this. I connected you.
Yep.
I did all this.
Totally monologuing.
Fucking the best badass.
Yeah. And in the corner of the screen, the blue lightsaber is twisting.
Yes.
Against the armrest.
I knew where it was going. I'm going.
And it's pointing straight at Snoke.
We can't do this. We can't do this.
It's so awesome. It pays off so well.
The whole time I was thinking, no, you can't do this.
And off screen, all you hear is a pop hiss, and Snoke freezes. And then it pans back, and the lightsaber is through his wrist, through his midsection, and out his other wrist, like this.
I'm like...
And he looks up, and Kylo turns the lightsaber off, and his body... Remember that scene in Resident Evil where the guy gets cut? Body falls in pieces off the throne.
Yes. And I'm like... And my fucking gut reaction is like... Okay. So how
you and I are both like, ah!
No. I'm going like, okay. So where do we go with episode 9 now?
So you totally think that Kylo and Rey are now Jason and Jaina. They're kind of this team.
In a good way, though.
Yeah, yeah. So they fight the Crimson Guard.
Yes.
It's an awesome fight scene.
Beautiful.
That's where the samurai part comes in.
Oh my god,
really
the fucking
cool.
saber drop from the back end to front end, the fucking eye, boom. Oh my god.
It's crazy. It's
Dude,
so crazy.
I mean, this was, when it came to certain saber fightings in the prequels,
Yeah.
that were great and beautiful, but CGI,
Mm-hmm.
in my eyes, even though this was probably CGI in some aspect,
Yeah.
very slowed down, but still
Well, that's what I said. The samurai part. It's very
beautiful.
very face off, kind of not face off the movie, but facing off against somebody.
Yeah. It wasn't as.
There was no gymnastics. There was no flipping around.
No.
But it wasn't quite as brutal as Force Awakens. It wasn't quite as hack brutal, like battle axe kind of thing. There was some grace to it. There was almost an automatic chemistry between Rey and Kylo.
Yes.
They fought like twins.
Yes.
Which is why we keep talking about Jason and Jaina.
There were still a few moments of, oh my god, these Crimson Guard dudes, who are cool, by the way.
They've got some awesome energy weapons.
Whips
and chains excite me. That's what they pretty much got.
Crimson Guard in general, really cool. They were like cool.
It is hard to describe. It really is. They were dancing, but not in the twirly kind of acrobatic way they were doing.
My question is, were the Crimson Guard dudes the prior Knights of Ren?
Or the prior Guardians of the Crystals from Rogue One. Who knows?
We don't know.
It's hard to say.
We don't know because there's still some...
I got the impression
murkiness
that the Crimson Guard were kind of like the Inquisitors from Rebels.
Mm.
They might be Force sensitive, but they make up for their lack of skill with a bunch of tools.
And
they do really
very
well.
Cool tools.
Very cool tools. And so the fight goes on. Kylo and, of course, and Rey end up killing him. And you think a certain way where it's going to go, but as soon as that happens, as soon as the end of the fight happens, Rey turns to the telescope, which is beautiful. There's a machine. Oh, yeah. There's like a computer panel with a telescope lens that you can watch the battle with. It's like almost like looking through those telescope things on a ship. Like just
that, in regards to that,
yeah.
was very Return of the Jedi.
It was. Yes, it was.
That scene.
Because you're looking through the window, but there's a magnifying glass showing you what's going on.
And then we go back to the very Empire Strikes Back.
Big time.
Join me.
So Rey is saying, okay, we're on the same side now. Great. We need to do this and we need to do that. And Kylo's standing there looking at the pieces.
I just killed this fucker.
Yeah, he's looking at the pieces of his boss. He turns to Rey and essentially says, join me and we'll rule the galaxy. He does the same thing Vader does to Luke in Empire.
Yep.
And without cutting off her hand. And so she's like,
just
what the fuck? She stops and looks at it. Her heart's broken. Daisy Ridley does so good in this scene. It's so amazing. And Kylo reaches his hand out, and this is why seeing it in 3D is so cool. The hand protrudes from the screen, and your reflex is to reach out.
Black glove.
Your reflex is to reach out and take the hand.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And Rey twitches for a second. Mm-hmm. Now, how does she get out of that? Is there an explosion or something? No, they fight over the lightsaber. That's right.
Yeah, they fight over the lightsaber.
They end up getting into a saber duel for a little bit, and Kylo gets disarmed or something. He ends up getting her blue lightsaber, Luke's and Anakin's old blue lightsaber.
No, the explosion is when Laura Dern does her light speed.
Right. Again, all these things are going on at once.
God, yeah.
All these things are going on at once. While all this is going on, everybody's getting down to the salt planet. Finn and Rose crash land on the salt planet and end up getting saved by the rebels. Poe's down there already because he escaped. Laura Dern takes control of the Mon-Cal ship. They think she's trying to escape because Poe still thinks she's a bitch. Mm-hmm. She flips around, points straight at the rebel, or not the rebel, at the Imperial fleet, at the First Order fleet.
This biggest fucking, we're talking this. You take a fucking. You take the Dreadnought, or you take the Scimitar, or whatever, Star Destroyer.
The Executor or some Super Star Destroyer, yeah. They're huge, these things.
Take this and make it in a fucking Batwing.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It does look like a Batwing. Or a B1, or B2, rather. It looks like a B2.
Yeah. Big motherfucker.
And she goes
light speed right at it.
Straight through them.
Dude.
You know that scene in
Beautiful.
Deadpool when he shoots those like 4 people with 1 bullet?
Yeah.
It's exactly what happens
Beautiful.
here. All the ships line up accidentally in
Yeah.
a way. She turns the Moncall ship, which is dwarfed by these things. Because Moncall ships, remember, Jedi were gigantic. And she hits the light speed. And the most beautiful scene I have ever seen in a Star Wars film, possibly the most beautiful scene I've seen in any film. The sound goes completely silent.
Yes. But
Dead silent.
You get the light.
There's a blue light.
As she's going through.
She launches into hyperspace. It almost looks like the blue lightsaber goes through everything.
Yes.
She flies through every single ship, and they all turn blue in the center and split apart, really in slow motion. And when it's all said and done, the entire First Order fleet is gone.
Not gone.
Well, burning up in
Disabled.
space. And
because that's what I loved about it.
So that's when I thought Hux was dead.
Because that's what I love about it, is because when it came to she didn't go split down the middle. She took a third.
Well, yeah, she kind of almost like cut everybody not in half, but like cut their wings off, kind of thing. While this is going on, the fight with Rey and Kylo's going on.
Still going on.
Now they start fighting over the blue lightsaber in the Force. They're fighting each other, pulling the lightsaber. When the explosion happens with Laura Dern, the lightsaber explodes at the same time.
When we're talking about the blue lightsaber, we're talking about the original
Anakin to Luke
Skywalker
to Rey blue lightsaber.
Yeah.
And it blows up. And they fly across the room. And Kylo gets knocked out somehow. They don't really explain. Kylo gets knocked out. Laura Dern knocks out the fleet. The rest of the surviving members of the rebellion land on the salt planet. That's where we're at.
I still don't figure out how Rey gets to the Millennium Falcon, but they say she stole a ship.
Well, she stole Snoke's ship. Hux says Rey took Snoke's escape ship.
We never saw it. Okay.
So all this is going on. We end up on the salt planet. It's an old rebel base, very Hoth. It's Leia. Carrie Fisher's doing amazing in these scenes. She's just totally owning everything. Yeah. Laura Dern sacrificed herself. They're talking about the spark of the rebellion. They need to build. Basically, the rebellion gets destroyed. The resistance gets destroyed in this movie. They lose.
Dude, they're on fucking like
400 people. That's it. Even less. By the end, they're like in the Falcon. There's like a dozen people.
I was counting like 10 people in that room.
So they're all hiding in the base. The base has got a big giant door. It's very Return of the King. Very can't get through the door. So the First Order pulls out, which is essentially Gron from Return of the King, the big battering ram that takes out the door. This battering ram is what Finn refers to as a miniaturized Death Star. It's gigantic, but by planet standards, it's gigantic.
And he's being shot between AT-ATs that are like gorillas.
Heavy armored AT-ATs. And just for scale, they put an old AT-AT there, kind of like they did with the Scout Walker in the Empire. They put the old AT-AT there and put the gorilla ones there, which are like twice as big.
I loved it. They acted like gorillas.
The knuckle dragging.
That was beautiful.
Now, this is where we get into the Dark Empire part, because there's a scene in Dark Empire where Luke has gone to the dark side. And he basically takes out a row of AT-ATs just with a thought. And that's what it reminded me of a lot. All this is going on. Rey's on her way down to the planet. Finn and Poe are already there. They're in Rose, and they're already there with Princess Leia. They've lost. The princess is like, we're dead.
Last-ditch effort.
They grab a bunch of old speeders, not snow speeders or something else. Those things in their trailer.
Salt speeders.
And they try this ridiculous attack against the big armored AT-ATs.
Full frontal
assault.
We gotta do.
And it's kind of funny. There's some bantering back and forth between Poe and Rose and Finn. I totally thought they were going to kill Finn. I totally was like, they're going to kill Finn.
I was this close. And then, boom.
So they're fighting against the AT-ATs.
Yep.
Leia is having kind of a crisis of faith.
Yep.
She sent out a signal to the galaxy. We're here. Please help us. And everybody not only not answers, but says no.
Not even no answer.
Yeah. So she basically says, we're done. We're fucking done. She sits down, and it's such a sad moment knowing what happened to Carrie. It was her death. It was really weird. She sits down, and then, of course, in typical fashion, a shadow walks into the room, and it's Luke. Luke with his haircut, he looks a little cleaner than he did, looks a little more upright, looks a little stronger than he was early on.
He stopped at the space barber shop.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And Luke had taken like a medallion from the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon when they were on the same island. And it's like
The golden dice.
The golden dice.
The golden fuzzy dice.
When I pictured it, I'm like, does Han have fuzzy dice hanging from his rearview mirror? That's what it looked like. But he takes the golden dice and then gives them to Leia.
Tells Leia, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Leia's like, it's not your fault.
They have this wonderful goodbye Leia moment. It was just amazing.
It was so beautiful, and it's still, once again, reminiscent of EU-esque stuff.
Yeah. It was Carrie Fisher's epitaph is what that was. Oh. It was amazing.
It was.
And so they have this beautiful scene, just the two of them, brother and sister, but it also felt like Hamill and Carrie. Mm-hmm. It really did. It was really weird. And kind of a similar scene that Harrison and Carrie had in Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. So he says goodbye. She says, what the hell are we going to do? He says, I will take care of it, basically.
That's what he said.
He strides through the base. Everybody stops. Finn, Poe, the Porgs, fucking everybody stops, whatever. And they look at him, and they're like, where did he come from? What the fuck is this? But right then, I was like, hold it. We've been watching Kylo and Rey talk to each other via virtual brain hologram.
No, virtual force reality.
Force reality, exactly. Force reality, that's nice. We should fucking coin the copyright Rants, Force reality. So he steps out, and this is where it looked like Dark Empire. He steps out of the door. They've managed to breach the door. They breached the gate. Gron has gotten through the gate.